There's a reason why pro colorists don't just slap on a LUT and call it a day. Every single polished look that you see has gone through multiple passes. And if you skip one or don't know about a specific pass, it can break your entire look apart and make you look like an amateur. So let's break down what each pass actually does and why skipping one of them could actually cost you your job. And if you enjoy content like this, then get pumped. I just put out a fire training. It's 1 hour plus long based on mistakes that you cannot afford to make if you want to create high-end looks or if you want to become a pro colorist. And most importantly, I will be covering questions that came straight from you guys in that training as well. You will get professionally shot footage that we're going to be using throughout that training, and we will have limited amount of spots open every month. So it is first come, first serve. Link is in the description. But first, finish watching this video before you check out the training. Also, I'm going to be including this footage for you to download so you can practice along. All I ask in return is you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and for those that don't know me, my name is Qazi. I've worked with brands like Adidas, Amazon Prime, Universal Studios, and I make no bullshit straightforward color grading tutorials so you can work with your dream clients. All right, so we got 3 shots. They're all in the same environment. I've put them in a group clip. In the pre-clip, I am applying my input device transform. So color transform, I'm taking RE-LXF footage, converting it to DaVinci Wide Gamut, which is going to be our working color space. And if I do before and after, you can see the changes applied to everything. And that's exactly what we want. Then when we go on the tail end to our post clip, at the end, I have applied an ODT output device transform, and it takes our DaVinci Wide Gamut, converts it to Rec. 709 Gamma 2.4. And if I do before and after, you will see the change reflecting all the shots. And the first pass is basically our primary pass. So this is the pass where we just make sure that our contrast looks good, our saturation looks good across multiple shots in the same scene, and our saturation levels are where they're supposed to be. So we're basically doing a first quick pass. So in this case, I'm going to go right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 5 different nodes, okay? And then I'm going to do 2 parallel nodes. So I'm going to put it like this. And this one I'm going to call my balance. This one I'm going to call, and basically I've created a custom short key, but you can right click and just go to node label. And then this one I'm going to call my con and sat, okay? And then this one is going to be my skin. This one is going to be my window, and then this one is going to be my whatever I want to isolate. So we're going to do it there. Right click, I'm going to go under gamma. I'm going to change it to linear. That's the color space I'm going to be working in for my balance. It works very similar to if we would have made changes in camera and how our eyes perceive colors and exposure. So if you want to see a full breakdown of this technique, I have a video. Link is going to be in the description. I'm going to kill my Luma mix because this is how it works best. And then at that point, what I want to do is I want to grab these shots and I want to middle click and I want to apply the same thing to these. So nothing has happened yet. And then I'm going to go to this shot and I'm just going to go, where do I want to keep this? I want to bring this down to something like this, and this looks good. I'm going to go here, and obviously this looks a lot darker. So I'm going to bring this up and keep it somewhere around here. And now if I go between this shot to this shot, it's looking somewhat better. So I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. In linear, your gain becomes your offset. It's behaving way better than if you were working in your offset. I'm going to bring this down to a little bit, and then I'm going to go back and forth, and now it's looking better. Obviously, this looks a lot more green than this right here. So I'm going to go here in my temp and tint, and I'm going to take my tint and I'm just going to add a little bit more magenta. And if I go back and forth, it's looking way better. This is looking way better. And if I do before and after, big difference. I'm going to go here, and obviously this needs a little bit more magenta, I would say, but it needs color temperature too. So it needs warmth and then magenta. And now if I go back and forth, it's starting to look a little bit better, but it still needs more work. And overall, I feel like this is just a little more on the warm side. And we can see that if I go in my parade and if I just go to vector scope. So I'm going to take my offset and I'm just going to cool it off a little bit to just kind of give us a more neutral base. And if I go here, I have to do a similar thing here now. So this is giving us that. And then here, this is looking much better. I'm gonna raise my gain up a little bit. And if I do right click, everything else is looking good. This is set to linear. Okay, we're good. So for our first balance, it's looking good. Now, how do we double, triple, quadruple check that it is good? For that, I'm going to come here. I'm going to create one more node. I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to call it QC. And then we're going to just use a DCTL called QT charts. I'm going to drop that on. And this is obviously a paid plugin, but if you want to play with it, you can download the demo. Link is going to be in the description. I'm going to go ahead and turn on false color. And now it applies it on all the shots, because that's why we work in group clips, because it's just, instead of like 17 different steps, it's one step. So now if we just go and we just like look at the face to face, and like I look at the hair, I look at her hair here, and then here looks the same. Her arm to her arm looks the same, mid gray. And everything is adding up, because if we go right here, we have a little bit of blue, we have a little bit of blue, we have a little bit of blue. So it's all adding up. This to me is looking pretty freaking good. The contrast between this and this is not the same. So this is like low con right now. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to type in 0.335 to lock in my 18% gray for when I'm working in DaVinci Wide Gamut. I have a whole video explaining that entire process and what I'm talking about. Link is going to be in the description for that. And now that we did that, I'm just going to select these, go under color, ripple node changes to selected clips, and then that's going to go ahead and apply that 0.335 to all three shots. And then at this point, we can go here, go under our contrast and just crank it, do something like this. I don't want to go too far, but if I do before and after, tightens it up quite a bit. You can go here and do the same thing. Again, not too much, tightens it up. Again here, and don't want to do too much. And I think it's looking really good. And now we should go and try the saturation false color and see how everything is looking. So if I go from this shot, I'm looking at her dress. It's looking great. So all of that is now dialed in. Okay, so we basically have done successfully our first pass. So we have gone ahead, balanced everything, put it where we wanted, and then we matched it across all the shots. And we used our scopes and our charts to make sure everything lands where we want it. So this is looking good. Now the next step, the second pass, is our secondary pass. And this is where we do things like working on our skin tones, shaping light, and then also isolate certain parts of the image that are just becoming an eyesore or something that we might want to accentuate. So in this case, I'm going to go right here. I see like she's just leaning a little bit toward like yellow in her skin. So I want to give it a little bit more juice. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right here in hue versus hue. I'm going to click right here, tap her skin, and then I'm just going to go in this part right here, hue rotation, and I'm going to start moving it around. So if we go up, this is what happens. If we go down, this is what happens. So we're going to come up and we're going to park it somewhere around here. And if I do before and after, it just gives it a nice rosy look, which I personally really like. And we can see what's happening using our scope. If I go to skin hue indicator and look at what we're doing compared to how it was before. So see, I said it was like very green, and you can now see it in our scopes, how green it was. And now we're bringing in a little bit of rosy cheeks and making it look real nice. So I'm going to turn that off. And then what I can do here is I can obviously take this and apply it here, and then just do again ripple node select, and then that's going to be applied to this shot as well. We can see it in the close, it's coming through, and we can see it here way better. Like this is way too yellow, and now you can see it on the vector scope how it pulls it, brings it close to the center. Okay, so this is looking a lot better. So let's just say we corrected the skin. Now the next thing is like, I want to, let's just go to our isolation, because what I'm seeing is like, there's certain colors that are just really nuked. Now, isolating colors doesn't mean that you have to do it on an individual color level. I mean, you can if you want to. But what I want to do is I want to start with this, sat versus sat. I want to take the most nuked areas and I want to pull them down. So if I just go like this, that just takes the sting off. And you can see it right here, what's happening. So I'm just taking it and pulling it down a little bit. I'm going to click on these color and then apply these changes. across the board. And if I do before and after, you see this looks kind of nice. Another thing I want to do is I want to go here and I actually want to swing this hue and make it blue. So I want to click right here and I just literally want to pull it down and I want to spread it out a little bit. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to spread this out and I'm going to do this, maybe this much, and do this. And if I do before and after, I kind of like what's happening. So maybe split the difference. So keep it somewhere around here. So now the blue jacket looks really blue, like denim blue. I love it. I'm going to go here and I'm going to apply these changes. So if I do before and after, like now the denim started to look blue and I kind of just like the contrast that it creates. And it's just a cleaner look overall. Okay. So let's just say that's all we wanted to do in our isolation. And now we're going to shape light. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to create a window like that. I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. Okay. And let's make it a little bigger. Let's do something like this. And then I'm going to start spreading it out. I'm going to hit Shift H so we can see what we're changing. I'm going to invert it. And I just want to make sure that we don't necessarily affect her face. Something like that. And now I'm just going to go under my gamma and I'm going to pull it. And if you see like how beautifully we're creating this natural, like shaping our light and creating this cone effect so we can just really see what she is doing. So this is why this secondary pass is so important and it has to come after our primary pass. And then what we're going to do is, once again, now we can just borrow this and we can bring it here and we can paste it. Obviously, we have to change it now because the light and the window is on the other side. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to twist it to something like that where the light is coming from and then just like really shape it. And I think now the intensity is too much. So I'm going to take my gamma. I'm going to pull it up a little bit. And it just gives it such a nice weight to the rest of the image. And then like, look at now, we really look at his eye right here. I'm going to do the same thing here, but it's going to be a little different, obviously, because now if we go to the shape, my bad, and we look at it, we have to do this right here. We have to probably expand it just a little bit. And once again, I think it's just too much. So I'm going to pull it back and I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. And now it's looking a lot better. And just look at the weight that it adds. I mean, if you just look at like what happened all the way around, like how it just like brought everything in and just gave it so much weight. So this is what we do in our secondary pass. Now we're moving on to the fun section, which is our creative pass or our look development pass, our third pass. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a fun look. There's multiple different ways to create a look. So, I mean, we can, add warmth right here. We can cool it off down here. And then all of a sudden we got a cool thing going and like we can do something like this, and now we have a pretty nice warm look. And because we're developing it on the post clip level, it is being applied everywhere. And now we can just see this nice creamy look that we created. I mean, it's pretty nice. And it just like matches because we did the hard work early on. But I'm going to take it a step further and let's just actually have more fun with it. And what I'm thinking about doing is I'm actually going to give you this Kodak 2383 that I'm going to create from my QT Look DNA. So this preset right here, when I drop 2383, I mean, this is choice, boys. Like this is so good. Obviously, we can go in and play with it a little bit more, but just look at this, like applying this right away. And it just looks so nice. And if it's like a little aggressive, we can just pull it back. So I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to turn on our chart so we can really see what's happening. And then I'm going to come into my mid contrast Y channel and I'm going to start pulling it back a little bit to something like this. And if I do before and after, I really like what's happening. I mean, just look at this warmth that's coming in because it's coming from right here. I mean, that's the beauty of like QT Look DNA. It really tells you everything is transparent. So normally when you apply a Kodak 2383 or a Fuji LUT, like you can't really see what's happening. But here it's transparent. It's like telling you exactly what's happening and it's locking your 18% gray. So like, your exposure is not jumping. It's staying where it's supposed to be. So I'm seeing that there's a lot of like nice warmth added on the top end. And then I'm seeing that there is like teal added on the bottom end right here. And we can even see it like how it's coming in, but it's very film-like characteristic. Now, if we want to fudge with it a little bit and just like have fun with it, we can totally do that. So I can go in my mid contrast. So let's just say if I go to mid contrast red or actually green and I start doing this, you can see what's happening and how smoothly everything moves. Okay. Now, another cool thing is that I can actually go to split screen and I can go to neighboring clips. And now we can see the change applied to all shots and we can really get a feel for like what's really happening here. So I kind of like that. So in here, we can just go in our mid contrast blue and like I can start doing that and see what's happening. And what if like I just want to add, I want to lift my greens a little bit on the bottom end and then take my blues, maybe add a little bit more blue so we can create some really fun split toning. And then what if on the top end, we want to kind of bring back our blue channel like this. And then what do we want to do in our undertones? Like, do we want to lift them? Do we want to crush them? Because if we crush them and then we take our black channel and lift it up, we create this very clean, very nice, like matted look. Like, look at how beautiful this look is. And we're barely doing anything. Like, we're not really messing with it. And at this point, we can actually warm it up more using our temp, which works very different than your YRGB primaries temp and tint. Like, this is a lot more realistic as if you were making these changes in camera. So like, look at now the kind of look we're creating and it's being applied everywhere. And now if we want to come out of that and if we want to hide this and now go between this to that and to this, I mean, this is gorgeous, guys. Because if I were to take this and show you the actual Rec 709, so this is our Rec 709, right? Because this is our log. This is our Rec 709 from Alexa. And then this is where we're at. And it's such a dreamy, beautiful look. So now let's move on to our matching pass, our pass number 4. And what is that? That's where after you apply your look and create all this manipulation, sometimes things are going to go off balance a little bit. So now you're going to go back and do another pass to just make sure everything is locked in. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on my false color and now kind of just go through all these shots and just make sure that they're still looking pretty good. I mean, this is looking a little bright, right? Like, I mean, he's coming up a little bit compared to her now. So there's been a little bit of like a bigger difference between these. I gotta be honest. So now at that point, what we need to do is we need to go right here and under our balance, and I'm gonna go under gain. I'm gonna pull it just a little bit, and now I'm gonna go to the next shot, and maybe we bring this up a little bit, and now go to this shot, and then this shot, and now that's looking good. Now let's go to our sat false color and look at what's happening here. So I'm gonna go to the right node. Okay, and now we can clearly see that there is red right here, there is red right here, but then there is no red right here. So the saturation is kind of lacking here. So I'm just literally going to go in my normal saturation right here, and I'm just going to start cranking it up. So I'm going to go even just this much. And now if we go to this and to this, all right, so let's try it now. I'm going to turn this off and now go from here to here and then here. I mean, it's a very juicy image. I mean, because it looks like film. Like it just, there's so much richness. But let's just say if that's too much richness and you don't want that, you want to pull it back a little bit, we can go in our look. And what we can do is we can just go in here. We can take our saturation and we can just start dialing it back a little bit to something like this. And then we can just make sure that it is being applied everywhere and now come out of it. And now if we just go and look at these, they blend in a lot better. Okay. What a beautiful look that we created. So now our matching pass is done. We're going to move on to our fine tune pass. Okay. So pass number 5, fine tuning. And what happens here is, let's just pretend that there's noise here. This was beautifully shot. It was perfect. There's no noise. But this is where we are going to take care of those imperfections. So if there's noise, if there is like any artifacting on our actual sensor. And if we have to remove it, we're going to do those things right here. So let's just say, again, pretend there's noise. So here, I would just do the generic one, which is going to be something like this. This is what I usually do, and it works wonders. Okay, so like I put this usually to something like 8. I break this chain, and then I go here and I put this to 6. And literally just by doing that, and we can keep this in better, we can keep this in better. So that for me, most of the time, just does the trick and fixes most of the problem. I mean, you can even see it right here on the bottom end, how it's cleaning this up, like before and after. So it's doing the job. This is before, this is after. Like this right here, after. It does do the job. And then anytime you're going to apply noise reduction, you're going to take away from your sharpness in your image. That's just something that's going to happen every single time. So to bring that back, I'm going to go in this node. I'm going to call it sharpen. And we're going to go right here. We're going to go under blur sharpen right here. And then what I want to do is I want to pull this down to around 40-ish. And we can clearly see that it is sharpening our image, but not like how we want it. So I'm going to do Shift H. I'm going to click on AB. And right now, it's basically, if I take the scaling and go to 100, it's selecting everything. And if I take it to 0, it's not selecting anything. So now what we need to do is split the difference. So I'm going to just start bringing this up and keep it somewhere around 4. And now if I come out of this, and if I just come close to his eyes, and if I just do before, after, you see this? Before, all this, after. Very subtle, but does the trick. Since we're working in like group clips, it's applied everywhere, right? So now we did our fine tuning, very important pass. Now we're going to move on to our effects pass. This is where we're going to apply any interesting, cool, funky effects we want to add in there, right? So like, let's just have fun. I'm going to add glow. Let's go to glow and let's drop that on. And when you first drop it on, nothing happens. I'm going to go ahead and change that to soft light. And as soon as we do that, this happens. This is crazy. So we're going to take our shine threshold. We're going to start pushing it back to something like this. And this is extreme. It's fun. It's extreme. It's fun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kill my noise reduction while we work on this. Otherwise, it's going to choke our system. So I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. This is really crazy. Really wild. So to control that, we do that in our shape and spread and under spread. If we just go to the right, like it's going to even it out a little bit. I want to go in my gamma under color and composite. I want to open it up like this. And then I want to take my gain and pull it down a little bit. Actually, we don't even have to control our gain. We can just go to Brighten Region Recovery, which is a new thing, which is really cool. And then we can just come down on that. So it looks like this. We can go in our color filter and we can just choose what we want to do. I mean, we can do something like this. Kind of cool. So if I do before and after, a very, very interesting look. It's going to be aggressive. So you've got to be careful what you want to do with it, because if you keep doing this, bringing it down, it will, help you out a little bit. And then if you want to take your gamma and pull it up, that will also help you. And ultimately what you can do is just obviously go in here in your blend and then control how much of that effect you want to pull in. So even something like that, it still adds a lot of magic. So let's just say that this is pretty cool, right? The client is happy. It's like now when you do before, you're like, how the hell did I like this? Because this does just add, like I said, that magic. And then finally, we're just going to add grain. And then I'm going to use what is it? Look creator. And then I'm going to turn off their color in their film look blend. So now all we're left with is if we want to use their halation. I'm not a fan of their halation because it just doesn't really do much. Because it's like, even if I go here and show you this, I mean, it's okay. So that's their vignette. We don't need it. We can kill it. Halation is working. Bloom is working. We don't necessarily need the bloom. We do need the grain, but we just want to exaggerate so you guys can see it online. So I'm going to do 16 millimeters so you guys can really see it. And if you think this is too much, we can go to 35 before and after. Before and after. Again, exaggeration is done. So we can just really see what's happening. If you like this grain, Or if you like this halation, you can leave this on. But if you don't like this halation, what I prefer is I turn off this halation and I go here and I create a node right before then. And then I'm going to use my halation from Qazi's toolkit. And it's supposed to go before our look. This is how everything is set up in Qazi's toolkit. So I'm going to put the halation right here for it to work properly. And as soon as we drop it on, I mean, come on. So it's like, now just look at how beautiful, like, or just look at this, like how good this looks. And obviously you can control it. You can go right here and you can make it super 35. So it's like a lot more subtle. Like, look how clean and beautiful this is. I like the results are so much better, man. Like, come on. So I would prefer this personally, but again, use resolves if you want to use resolves. Is subjective. Now we're moving on to our final pass, which is delivery pass. So what trim are we exporting this as? Okay, is it going to be SDR, HDR? So go to your ODT, look at it here. This is going to determine what the final output is going to be. If I want an HDR output, I'm going to go right here. I'm going to select B3D65. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to select ST2084 1000. But if it's for broadcast HDR, I'm going to select Rec 2100 ST 2084. And as soon as I do that, it looks really bland on your end, but on my HDR monitor, it is popping, literally about to like make my eyes bleed. So then that's how you would set that up, different trims, whatever the job requires. We're going to go back to our Rec 709 and this is where we're at. So that's going to be our delivery pass before we get it all ready and ready to ship for our client. One last thing that we can check in our delivery pass is like, is there any alerts? Let's go to negative indicator and make sure nothing is being clipped. Because if I go right here and let's just say if I do this, you see all this that's popping up. That's because my blacks are gone. My shadows are gone. Okay, so they are good on this shot. They're good on this shot, but this shot is clipped. And if I didn't have this, I wouldn't have known. I can look at this and I can just be like, oh, whatever. Like, I mean, it's a look. But then you go here and you're like, nah, dog, like this is going to bounce. So you got to take care of that. You got to go back. You got to do this. And then all of a sudden it's good to go. So that's a very important part of your delivery pass process. Now we move on to our last part of the grading process, which is our client pass or review pass. This is after the client gave us their feedback and we're going to go back and we're going to make changes. Client said, I don't like the green up top. I would rather have it like more warm. And it's like, okay, no problem. So you don't like green up top. We're going to go right here in our look. We're going to turn on show curves. And we're going to go in our highlights. We're going to take our greens and we're going to pull this down a little bit like that. And we're going to take our red and we're going to crank it up a little bit. And then we're going to go, what do you guys think of this instead? So we can show them before and after. This was before and then this is after. So which one do you guys prefer? And they go, you know what? This is kind of cool, but can you split the difference? No problem. So we go back to our highlights red. And we pull it down a little bit like this. And they go, this is great. All right, let's print it. So this is where that change will be made. But you saw like why it matters so much to have a proper process and pipeline, because it just makes it that much easier instead of like, you know, going through shot by shot, creating a new node on every single clip and not having a fixed node tree or a proper structure. And you will just be playing a game of whack-a-mole till the end of time. So, of course, this tutorial was long because I was explaining every single pass, but when I'm working on it, I'm not thinking about it like that. This is just how my brain works. And if you follow this process, your grades will be transformed forever. I promise you that. That said, smash the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace, fam.